Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Scott Murray, and I'm the superintendent of Ector County Independent School District, and it is a pleasure to have you with us this evening. We have a pretty incredible show with a large number of guests, both from here in the city of Odessa and beyond. We're excited to share our special guests with you in just a few minutes, but a couple of quick school district updates that we wanted to bring to you tonight. First of all, our Board of Trustees met this week and made some pretty exciting decisions for our faculty and staff members that we're excited to share. They approved a 3% across the board raise for all of our certified staff members and a 4% across the board raise for our hourly employees, where we were really appreciative of them for taking that generous step. That is not happening across the state of Texas this year, but it is happening in ECISD. And again, we're grateful to our trustees for making that step. In addition to that, they also approved a $750 one-time payment for any employee that is working with us on the first day of school. So for those of us that are staying this year and will come back next year, that $750 is for you. And also anybody that joins the team between now and the start of school will have that opportunity. Again, thank you to our trustees for making that happen. We are very appreciative. And this is graduation season. In fact, tomorrow we have our very first graduation of the season. But it's for the class of 2020, which again is last year's class. We made a promise to the class of 2020 that because they weren't able to have a traditional graduation ceremony, we made a commitment to them that we would honor them this year with that traditional ceremony. So starting tomorrow, we will be celebrating the class of 2020 with graduations from all 5 of our high schools. And then next weekend, we begin graduation ceremonies for the class of 2021. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks in Ector County ISD as we celebrate graduates. So if you are in and around our community, or if really you are in any place and you come into contact with a high school graduate, make sure that you reach out your hand and say thank you for the work that they've done this year, which has been a most unusual year, and congratulate them on this accomplishment. And ask that question, where are you going next? Challenge them and encourage them to not let this be the last stop along their educational journey, but to continue into other opportunities. We are encouraging each of our students to do the same. Speaking of graduation, we're actually going to have a couple of our graduates with us this evening, and I am sure that they are excited to share a little bit of their story. Many of you are aware that this year we had a group of our students and staff members from Odessa High School that participated in a pretty unique experience. We were contacted by the New York Times as the school year began, and we were asked to work with them on telling our story. What is the story of a school district as they face this pandemic? How do we go back to school? How do we do this safely? How do we ensure that kids are learning and remaining safe at the same time? What kinds of emotions might this create with faculty, with staff, and with the community? And so we invited the New York Times to be a part of that experience with us. And I think we all learned a lot. And tonight we want to uncover what exactly we have learned through that experience and share a few stories with you tonight. And we are incredibly excited this time to actually bring aboard really the brains behind the team from the New York Times that made this possible. So let's bring them to the screen tonight. Again, these ladies represent the team of directors and producers, and I will call them artists tonight, that made the podcast called the Odessa come to life. And so if we could bring them to the screen, and let's take a minute to introduce. There they come. So good evening, ladies. It seems like it's been forever since we've been together. And I'm sure you've been on a luxurious vacation, traveling the world perhaps. And we thank you for taking a few minutes of your time tonight. And so let's start with question number 1, and that is, who are you? We know the New York Times, but tell us a little bit about that. You were the folks that made this scenario happen. So let's start with your name, and what role did each of you play in this? Annie, if you want to start us off, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So my name is Annie Brown. I am a reporter and a producer at the New York Times, and I hosted the program, which meant that you heard my voice. But I was really just one of a team that you see here that was doing the reporting and the writing and the editing behind it.
Good. Thanks, Annie.
Cindy, you want to go?
Oh, there you go, Sindhu. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I'm also a reporter and producer at the Times, and I've been there for 2 years, and it was an honor to work on this project with them.
Thanks.
I'll go next.
There you go.
My name is Soraya Shockley. I'm also a reporter and producer at the Times. Just really quickly, a producer for us is someone that actually like edits the tape. We get a bunch of recordings and we edit it together, and that's part of my job. We also like scored it, and we had engineers who helped us make it even better. But yeah, that's my job, and I'm the newbie on the team. I've only been there 6 months, so Odessa has been my whole life at the Times.
There you go. That's right. So you have to come and visit sometime for real, so we could give you on a tour of the big city. A good deal.
Yes.
Good deal, Liz.
I'm a senior editor for the team, and that just means I work with these fabulous journalists, and I'm also a journalist. I've been working for 2 decades as a journalist, so yeah.
Good. It was an incredible experience. So thank you, ladies, for putting this together for us. Tell us a little bit about The Daily. That actually, and I'll be honest with you, when I was introduced to The Daily, I had not listened to a podcast from The Daily before. So tell us a little bit about the show, The Daily.
Yeah, so this is where Odessa primarily ran. So that's why we're talking about it tonight. I've been a producer on The Daily for the last 4 years, and I was there really from almost the very beginning when really after the Trump administration was inaugurated, there was really a sense of wanting to understand the moment that we were in, and the Times decided to create a daily news podcast called that we named The Daily. Came out Monday through Friday, and we cover the biggest story of the day. And then sometimes we do these more feature pieces about someone or some place that is intersecting with the news in some compelling way. And so Odessa was, our show called Odessa was really this attempt to understand what one school was facing in during the pandemic, because and that would be hopefully representative of would speak to the experience of a lot of different schools, teachers, and students across the country.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so interesting. Again, as I've gotten to know The Daily, a variety of different topics are dealt with every day. But the Odessa experience was a 4-part series. Is that unusual for the show, or have you done other series like this before?
Yeah, we've done a few different series in the past. We've covered, all kinds of things in series, whether it's like the election. We've done, a series about the primaries leading up to it, the states that are contentious in the election leading up to the 2020 election, elections in Europe, terrorism, history. And so every once in a while, when a story kind of raises to a certain level, a team on the show will peel off and really dive in deep on one topic. And we knew going into this year that education was going to be a huge story and was really one of the biggest question marks of the pandemic. And so this team got together and was able to focus on that for the show. Good.
Hey, Liz, why Odessa? I think Annie kind of teed it up a little bit. So education clearly was going to be a topic, and it has been really the whole time as a part of this pandemic. But why Odessa? What drew you to this situation, and kind of what created this opportunity?
I mean, I feel like all of us could talk about this, but I'll start us off. Well, first of all, a huge driving factor was your openness. Telling these kinds of stories, requires an investment, not just from the Times, but also from the people whose stories we want to tell. And it absolutely requires an openness. And so, the fact that you felt so committed to letting us come in and really see everything, talk with the, you and Mike, talk with the teachers, talk with the nurses. You have an open door to our students. That was a huge factor for us. And I'll let the rest of the team also chime in.
But just to comment on that, I think part of that is really what we were all feeling in education, and maybe you felt this as journalists as well. Each day was new. I didn't have the class Pandemic 101, how to run a school district. I must have slept through that or something. But we were all trying to figure out how to do this, and so learning from other people was fascinating. But also those things that we were doing. You gave us an opportunity to kind of share some best practices that were happening here with other people that I know were just hungry for the how and the why and the what. So pretty interesting. Soraya, Sindhu, why Odessa from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a few factors that made Odessa especially interesting for us. You guys obviously are an oil region and we're especially hard hit economically. So we were curious about how that would play out for people in the schools. Also, we quickly realized also just some of the additional challenges in this area around, for example, broadband internet, how, almost 40% of families did not have adequate internet access, which, posed additional challenges. And of course, you guys opened relatively early, which for in-person learning, which is another big factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Soraya, anything to add to that?
Yeah,
you came really into this. Had we already started this, or were you right at the beginning?
Yeah, so Annie and Sindhu had just started collecting tape, but I entered the picture in October. So before we had started putting together episodes or anything like that, I was lucky enough to join the team. But another answer for why Odessa, at the end of the day, when you're telling a story, you're also looking for compelling people. It's a people-based story. And what we found at Odessa were amazing people who had amazing stories. And, and you'll see some of them again later tonight. But Joanna and Naomi and yourself and Jimmy and all of these people were also so open that it made telling the story a real joy and honor. But that is also why Odessa, because Odessa has some great people.
It makes me smile for those that are listening, those Odessa High School folks that are listening tonight. They have a powerful story, and again, we'll get to meet some of those folks in a minute. I'm curious as to the vision. You probably had a thought as to where this show would go and what the outcome would be, and so I'm curious to know, did the outcome actually match the vision you had for the show, or did things take a turn at any point along the way? And any of you can respond to that.
So I think going in, there were a lot of questions about health. We didn't know at the end of the summer really how much the virus would spread in schools, and so there were more questions around safety and at the same time as education. And I think obviously health remained a huge factor in what each person was facing in the school, and what you and the teachers and the staff were always trying to protect for. But what I think surprised us was how much mental health emerged as a real crisis.
Yeah. Other surprises or other you thought and then it turned into? Anybody else want to respond to that?
I think one of the surprises, I'm not sure if it was really a surprise, but one of the standout parts of the series was also just how much the pandemic was tearing at the fabric of people's lives. I think V&A's story really highlights that. It really, all of the people that we feature in this story highlight just how much this pandemic is more than just a health crisis. It's a human crisis, and it impacted all of their lives very deeply. So it wasn't surprising, but the way it unfolded in people's lives was the most fascinating part for me.
At one point in one of the episodes, I can't remember which, but it was either Liz or Annie, I can't remember which, but the comment was that you were worried about one of our students, and there was some anxiety, if you will, to try to locate one of our kids or speak with one of our students. Talk about the relationships that you all developed during this show, this experience.
That was Annie, actually. Annie, you should talk about that. Yeah, Annie.
Yeah, I mean, but we all were behind that. There's one voice you hear, but we're all we're all in that together. I think that you modeled the kind of openness to let us into the school district, but everyone was really honest and open with us about where they were this year in such a challenging year, and we tried to, as much as we could, understand what people were going through, remotely, and so through following these students and teachers, we became close to them. We started to, wonder how they were doing. And, if we didn't hear from them, wonder if there was a reason behind that, to try and, anticipate. We knew there were grades coming out, what was going on there. And that is unusual, for us, as I haven't followed a group of people in a journalistic way for this amount of time. Basically watching as things unfold. It's an unusual. It's a different kind of relationship.
Go ahead, Liz.
I was just going to say, we're Soraya, Sindhu, Annie, and I. It was 6+ months of being on the phone with one of y'all for multiple times a day, and if we weren't on the phone actually interviewing you all, we were checking in on text. And so I mean, it's very much a relationship, and as Annie said, that relationship, that trust that we're building with y'all and you guys are building with us is key to the intimacy of the story, and allows us to tell your all's truth in a way that we believe and we have heard, really resonated with people nationwide. So,
yeah, that's fascinating. I wanted to ask about the uniqueness of this experience. Again, there are other podcasts that happen one time and then move on, but was this a unique experience for you all in the realm of doing, podcasting work or reporting? Is this unusual?
I mean, it was all remote. And normally Annie, Sindhu, Soraya would be on the scene with you guys. You all, Sindhu, maybe Sindhu, Soraya, Annie, one of you guys can, or all of you can talk about that.
Sindhu, you want to go?
Yeah, no, you go, Soraya.
It was all remote, which was very strange, building relationships with people, especially people that you're asking to make an investment and to trust in you to tell their story, is a really challenging and delicate process. And to not be in person, to not be able to sit in front of someone and look them in the eye, to me was a totally new challenge journalistically. I've never had to do that before. It was also, like Annie was saying, it was also a new thing for me to cover an event that was unfolding in real time while also trying to build a story. That was a totally new challenge for me. I come from a history of doing mostly history podcasts, things that have already happened long ago. And this was not that. This was happening every day, every hour, every minute. Sometimes we would get calls in the middle of the day and COVID was on the ban suddenly, and you had to pivot. And you had to figure out, well, okay, is this going in the story? What does this mean for our story? And you're also balancing that with the real life challenges of people being busy and this pandemic being hard. So there were a lot of challenges to this process that were new, but being remote and it being something that was unfolding in real time were probably the big two for us.
Yeah. No, that is interesting. Anything, sorry, while you've talked about that, anything that you would carry forward, you learned something, you've experienced something because it was all digital that you think, hey, this is a good way to do this from now on, anything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
The flexibility you have to be able to record whenever, wherever anyone's at is incredible. To be able to enter someone's home basically at any time, whenever it works for them and to, we're mostly based in New York. So traveling to and from Odessa, having to schedule all of your interviews, having like tight turnarounds and that sort of stuff can make the reporting process hard. It can make it more intimate, but it can make it really hard. So remote reporting really gives you a flexibility that is that's sort of game changing.
It also just allowed us to watch for a longer period of time, because even if we had come, it would be for a shorter amount of time. And then, and then you're only telling the story within a couple of days. So I think that we all were surprised at the level of intimacy we were able to achieve with being remote. And I think that's just a testament to just the people that opened themselves up to us and how much we pestered them. Really.
Persistence is key.
That's right. There was lots of persistence.
There was a lot of persistence.
But it was also a lot of fun. So, ladies, we've got the other side of this. So you all were the listeners, those that asked questions and those that produced and developed this. But we also have those that portrayed the characters in this, the real life characters, and they were the crew from Odessa High School. So we're going to transition right now. Ladies, we're going to bring you back in a few minutes, but we want to talk to the folks from Odessa that kind of lived this story. So if we could bring in the Odessa High School crew, we've got some staff members and some students that were a part of the Odessa podcast experience. And we'd like to hear a little bit from them tonight. So if we could bring in the Odessa High School crowd. Hey, there they are. Good. How we doing, ladies?
Hi.
Hi.
Good. So let's do the same thing. Introductions first. The funny thing is those that have listened to the podcast only know your voice. They don't know your face or your experience. So let's take a minute. So name and then your position. What specifically do you do at the school, whether student or staff member? Naomi, let's start with you.
Okay, I'm Naomi Fuentes. I'm the AVID site coordinator at Odessa High School. So I teach AVID for seniors, and I do have one section of sophomores, and I love it.
Good. Thanks, Naomi. Marissa.
Hi, I'm the school nurse at OHS, and I've been there for 3 years now, and I really enjoy working with everyone there.
Good deal. VNA.
Hi, I'm VNA. I'm a senior, and I am the head drum major for the band.
A senior. So you're a few days away from the event. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Joanna.
Hi, I'm Joanna. I'm a senior at OHS, and I'm a band member.
Yes, you are. And you play the cymbals.
Yes, I do.
There you go. See, I am also a drummer, so we are a kindred spirit, Joanna. I'm not sure if you know that, but I also spent 4 years in high school in the band, just like you. So congratulations. And a senior as well. Get ready to walk across the stage. Good deal. All right, Marissa, I'm going to start with you with a question. So I want to know what you thought when you got the call. Hey, Nurse Marissa, we would like to invite you to participate in this podcasting experience with the New York Times. Tell me what you thought.
Yeah, it was a mix of feelings, really. I was excited. I was honored that they selected us in our school. And then you're also nervous because of you don't want to say the wrong things. And it can be kind of nerve-wracking. You're like, can you trust them? Are they going to portray, accuracy? And so it was very nerve-wracking at first, but we were really excited to kind of join them and see what happened. So after meeting with them and talking with them several times, we quickly learned to trust them. They're a great group of ladies, and we really enjoyed working with them.
Yeah, good. Well, and this, because you're the school nurse, you had a unique perspective. We're dealing with a medical situation, an international pandemic that affected the health and wellness of all of us. And so, probably of all the people on the screen, you understood more about this just because of your medical background than any other person. Did that make you maybe extra nervous about this, or were there any additional burdens that you felt maybe because you were the medical professional?
About the podcast or about the semester? Yeah.
The podcast, yeah.
Yeah, just in general, letting them see kind of what we do, and it was very nerve-wracking, and we were like I said, hesitant at first to let them in and give them all of our info. And then you also have, confidentiality. So you have to say what, let them know your story without giving them too much information.
Yeah.
And so that was, that was really hard. That was probably the hardest part, is giving them the information without doing too much or giving an identity or anything like that. So
no, absolutely understand. Naomi, tell me about you. When you got the call and this opportunity to engage, what did you think?
I thought, why me? What's unique about my perspective? But yeah, I totally agree with Marissa. It was exciting, and it was an honor to be asked to do this. So I thought, of course I'll do it. Way out of my comfort zone, let me tell you, but so glad I did it.
I think I heard you saying that several times in the podcast. This is way out of my comfort zone for sure. But you did well. No, I appreciate it. Joanna, what about you? I mean, you're a high school student, and this is the New York Times. This was not the Odessa American. This was, the New York Times. What'd you think?
So I had arrived to band practice, and our band directors had told us the day before that they were going to do some recordings, and I thought it was just going to be for because sometimes they come in and they record us for band of the week or something. I thought it was going to be something like that. Okay. And so there's this guy, Mitch. I kind of miss him. He interviewed all of the seniors, and he wrote down our information and everything. He interviewed all of us, and then I guess they chose me. I don't know why. I'm kind of in the background of everybody. I feel like I'm a pretty boring person sometimes, so I was honored that they thought I was interesting. So it was also really nerve-wracking because there's a lot of people listening.
There are a lot of people listening, that's for sure. I think that the daily podcast has 2 million followers, and I mean it's a lot of people listen. But I know why they picked you, Joanne. I think they picked the right person. You were pretty incredible. So I can tell you, as the superintendent, it was a lot of fun to get to know you through the podcast. So good stuff. VNA, what about you? What'd you think?
I the first time I ever heard about the New York Times coming was when Olagi was like, "Hey, can you record some things for the New York Times, and then you can send it to me?" And I was like, "Okay, well." And then I didn't see them for a little bit, and I got a message saying that they wanted to interview me for the New York Times, and I was like, "Me?" And this was after what happened with the band West and everything. Yes. So I was like, "Oh, it's probably about my experience of how it happened."
Sure.
And,
What'd you think about the experience in general, VNA, for you? Good experience for you? Interesting, unique? How would you describe it?
I think it was crazy because I never thought I was gonna do something like this. It still amazes me that I was in a New York Times podcast or anything with the New York Times. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. That's you never thought you'd be featured in the New York Times with this. No,
I never did.
Something you dreamed about in middle school. No, good idea for you. Good. What about those around you, Naomi? Friends and family, as people began to learn that you were having this experience, what did your family think about you going through this, or any others that you shared it with? Maybe your colleagues.
Oh, I've had a lot of positive encouragement and support. They thought it was great. Yeah, it was just exciting. And yeah, I mean, my family was on board. Every time I had to get on a a Google Meets with the New York Times team, they'd be like, okay, we have to be quiet because she's on the phone, you know, they're recording. So yeah, it was awesome. Lots of support, lots of encouragement. I felt blessed. I was like, wow, this is happening. Just like VNA said, it's the New York Times. It's pretty awesome.
Sure. Marissa, what about you? Family, friends, what do they think about this experience?
Yes, everybody was really excited. I have a friend in Nashville who was like, I heard your podcast. I hadn't even announced it to anybody. So I thought that was pretty cool, listening to people who I didn't say anything to reach out and say, we heard you and we, you know, you're famous. No. Which I'm like, it's a tiny, you know, I didn't think it was as big as it actually turned out to be. And it's an honor to be a part of, for sure.
I had a similar experience. I had actually a former teacher. I used to work in Atlanta in Fulton County Schools, and a teacher was listening to the podcast, the very first one, on her way to work. And I got an email from her that day. I hadn't spoken with her since I left Atlanta, but she listens to the podcast every day on her way to work, and just happened to be listening that Friday, and it was the same thing. Had no idea, and we reconnected because of that. Interesting. Marissa, what about any reaction from people that as they were listening to so they heard it, and then they shared something with you? Any surprises from others as they listened to the podcast?
I don't think anyone had any surprises. I think what kind of caught everybody off guard was the emotion. Kind of seeing different perspectives and how emotional. Once you hear everything come together, it was truly emotional. And I think that's kind of what caught everybody by surprise, you know, just how intense it was and emotional. And I think that's the majority of the feedback was like, it's really great. It showed a true story, you know, from every perspective. And I think that's what everybody liked the most about it.
Yeah, no, good. And there was a lot of emotion. I think in every episode, there were times that it was very emotional, even for us, to listen to, and we're in it. It was still emotional.
Me personally too. I hear the band and I get emotional. Even there's something about the band that sounds great, and it makes you. It just triggers that.
It's Joanna Symbols. It's Joanna Symbols. That's what it is. But it's Joanna Symbols. That's right. Hey, Joanna, what about you? As your friends, you know, knew that you were going through this process, what did your friends think about this?
They've been really supportive. They've been listening to the podcasts. They always tell me, "Don't forget me when you're famous." And a lot of my teachers have been really supportive as well. They've been emailing me, saying how much, you know, I've inspired them, and they had like no idea what the students have been going through this year. So they were just thanking me, of me giving them an idea how it's really.
So what did Joanna, sometimes when you were with your friends, you actually were recording in the moment, you know, talk about that. Did your friends know that you were recording as you were having some of these conversations?
Well, because Mitch would come in with like a mic, so he would record everybody. So it wasn't just me, it was with everybody in the room. So everybody already. Everybody
kind of knew.
Yeah.
Oh, good. VNA, what about you? Any reactions that you've heard from friends or family that have listened to the podcast?
I've gotten a lot of good feedback. I've gotten some texts that they also cried hearing my part because no one knew like what I was going through, like me personally, of all the backlash that I got, and they've been really supportive. And they keep texting me, "Are you okay? Good, band." So.
Yeah. You know, you're listening to your episode, and when you shared that story, even as the superintendent, I never, that aspect of this pandemic, I never anticipated, never thought about how kids having the virus and bringing it would affect others and what you might receive because of that. So that was a powerful piece just for me to listen to as the superintendent, and knowing that there are other kids like you, VNA, all elementary, middle, or high school that had that same experience. That was pretty moving. There's a new face on the screen. Jimmy. So
Hi.
tell us about, first, who are you? We've heard your voice, everybody on the podcast, but who are you, and tell us what you do at OHS.
I'm Jimmy Olagi. I am the assistant band director at Odessa High School and finishing up my 26th year there.
Wow, 26 years. Have you had an experience quite like this in your 26 years?
No, sir, not at all. This was crazy. It was surreal.
You're not a normal feature of the New York Times?
No, I wish I was. I'm working on that, but so
There
far,
you go,
no.
exactly. Someday front page cover, above the fold. That's what
That'd be
there you
fantastic.
go.
Yes, sir.
So, hey, Jimmy, when you were approached with this idea in the beginning, what were your thoughts?
I received the email from Mr. Marquez asking for a few of the faculty to respond to an email that Mike Atkins had sent out. And, I read it and then I just left it alone, in all honesty, for about a day or so. And then I remembered it again and I went back and I found it and read it again. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna, see what this is all about. So I responded to Mr. Marquez, and then within an hour, I had another email from Mike Atkins telling me, what to look for. And then by that evening, I had an email from Annie Brown introducing herself. And by the next day, about 2:00, we were on a Zoom call, in the band hall. It was crazy.
Yeah. Any moments for you, Jimmy, that were, as you listened to the podcast, any takeaways for you? Any aha moments? Any surprises as you've listened to the episodes?
The surprises were, definitely how it impacted my students emotionally at home. We get to know our kids somewhat, but I never thought that that Joanna was going through stuff like this, as deep as it was, or all the stuff that VNA had gone through. As a teacher, I try not to. I don't have all the social media stuff, and I definitely, when I do the small stuff that I do, I don't have kids until they graduate. That's just the rule that me and my wife follow. And so I had no idea, the stuff that was happening until it finally, I caught word of it, and it was just, it was incredible. I mean, it was definitely eye-opening, and just the different lives that it affected and how it affected was pretty amazing.
We just had the New York Times folks on. They'll be back with us in just a minute, but that was one of the comments that they made as well, asked a similar question, and it was the social emotional side of this that I think was the takeaway for them as well. This was a medical situation, but yet, we've seen a lot of that. Ms. Fuentes, I want to come to you. Same question. As you've listened to the podcast yourself, any aha moments for you, surprises or takeaways?
Not necessarily surprises, but it just helped me realize that how important social emotional learning is. It's like relational capacity and relationships has always been important in classrooms, always before COVID, but it was just that much more important this year. Like those relationships were just so hard to build, in my opinion. Yep. And we just needed that connection that wasn't happening right away.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that in education, just how important the relationship between teacher and student is. It really helps them be successful throughout their school journey. So absolutely. Joanna, what about you? As you listen to this, you were in a lot of these episodes. Your story was real powerful as we went through. A lot of folks have followed you. What did you learn as you listened to the podcast? Anything about yourself or others?
I'm not sure. I definitely learned a lot about myself, which is I'm a very open person. I never really realized how open I was and how much of myself I put out there. And so when we be recording like podcasts after like our little meets, I'd like think to myself, I'd be like, should I have said that? Was that like too much? And it was scary, but then
it was you. It's the real Joanna.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that in listening to your story again, as someone who lives here and works with the folks at Odessa High School, hearing your story was impactful to me. it helps me realize what not only you are going through, but what many students across our system are dealing with. And so I found it very powerful and moving as well. So again, a great story to tell. Vianney, what about you? What did you learn about maybe yourself or about others as you listened to the podcast?
I also agree with Joanna, like how open I was, and like after the meetings, and like how crazy it was, and like I was like, dang, I just opened like what my experience was and everything.
Yeah.
And
sure.
just the behind like the nurses and what they had to go through, and the teachers and everything. It's been really like I don't know how to say it, like touching.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I understand. So if the New York Times tonight, when we bring them back, then if they said, "Hey, we'd like to ask you to do another podcast next year and 4 more episodes," Vianney, would you say yes?
Yeah, I would do it, but I'm not in high school. I wouldn't be in school anymore or high school anymore. So
Odessa goes to college. There you go. So part 2. There you go. But you would sign up. Naomi, what about you? Would you do it again?
Yeah.
I hear a little there. That's funny. Good. But you would sign on.
Yeah. And okay.
Good.
Yes, I know I've said it a million times. I way out of my comfort zone, but I loved them. The ladies, the New York Times team
Sure.
were amazing. So yeah.
Great storytellers for sure. Joanna, what about you? If you had an opportunity, would you do it again?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, good. And Jimmy, thoughts? If you had an opportunity?
Where do I sign?
Oh, there. That's right. That's good. Hey, we're going to expand the screen a little bit, and we're going to invite our New York Times. It's going to become the Brady Bunch. So we're going to see lots of faces on here and have a big family reunion. Let's see if we can get everybody on at least one time. There we go. We're close. Good deal. All right, it's the crew. So we've got a surprise for you, New York Times folks, because you've asked us a lot of questions over the last year. And so we have some questions for you and from the Odessa High School crowd. So get ready. They're going to be hard-hitting, difficult questions about physics. So we hope you're in no physics. Ms. Fuentes, do you want to start us off? You got a question for this crowd?
I do actually. Okay, so I know I sent you a bunch of stuff, like hours and hours that you probably had to sift through. How did you decide what to use?
I feel like this is all Sindhu. Yeah. This is Sindhu.
Yeah, Naomi, I mean, truly, you sent us over 100 pieces of audio, which is just amazing. And we are so grateful for just how much you took this on as your own project. It really is rare for that type of investment, and it made our jobs so fun, because then it was just a playground of all this audio to listen through and to, just piece bits together to really get a sense for. I mean, it made, first of all, listening to all of it helped us really understand what was going on in your classroom. And then we just had so much to choose from to illustrate that for everyone else in a tighter way. So I remember in the beginning, you were nervous that you were sending us too much, and you're like, this is going to be boring. Like, who's going to listen to all of this? No, it was a pleasure.
That's cool. That's cool. Jimmy, got a question for them?
Yeah, any one of you, ladies, if you could change places with me, how would you have done things differently?
Oh.
Anyone got an answer for this one?
Nobody wants to be a band director, Jimmy.
Well, I'll give you an insight into our team. Sindhu and Annie both said that this project made them want to be teachers. So, this project was definitely gave us a love for the jobs that you guys do, the difficult jobs you do. I am completely tone deaf, and you would not want to see me be a band director. So I'm going to bow out of this question, but I'm not sure if someone else has a better answer.
I mean, Jimmy, I could just say, Jimmy, you, I'm maybe I'm misinterpreting your question, but you said if you could do if we wanted you to do something differently, what would it be? Is that
no?
What?
If we could trade places, how would you have done things differently, if anything?
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought I understood. Okay, so I mean, you were incredible. You know, we talked about this a little bit before you came on, but one of the things that really made this project special was how open each and every one of you were. And, you know, you let us know when COVID came to the band, you know, and you called us immediately and said, I want to let you know about this. And that was one of the challenges of not being on the scene is, you know, it would have been pretty natural for us not to find out about this for days or hours, you know, at least. And you let us know right away. And everyone was the same way, just trusting us, not just trusting us with the story, but letting us know what it was like as though we were there, you know, as though we were with you. So.
Yeah, and I would just say, like, both Jimmy and Naomi, it was just so amazing to follow you and then speak to students about you and have the, you know, be able to see you through their eyes. I feel like we really got so lucky with the teachers that we ended up following because you have made such a powerful impact on so many of your students' lives. We spoke with a local news anchor just as we were trying to gather information early on about the town and the school, and he just freely offered, you know, my favorite teacher is Naomi Fuentes. I went to Odessa High School. My favorite teacher is Naomi Fuentes, and it was moments like that happen all the time, you know. And so we have no edits. You know, we don't know. There's no way we could do your job.
He also happened to say the band is amazing. So.
Yeah, right.
81 years in a row of first place. There you go. That's good. That's great. And I will tell you what, Annie and Sindhu, we have applications available if you'd like to come and teach. So
yeah.
I'll just put it out there, you know. Put it out
and it's
there.
paying very well too.
There you go. Hey, Joanna, have you got a question for this crowd?
I got two, if that's okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'm just really curious. Out of all of the people y'all interviewed, why did you choose the people that y'all did?
Well, to start with you, you know, we were interested in following a member of the band, and so that's how we ended up, you know, even speaking with you in the first place. And then we liked talking with you. And you were really open with us, and you also were having a unique experience of working during school hours that was, you know, a perspective that we were interested in understanding better, and so it was a combination of, like, you're on the band, you're doing this particular thing, and you're just so nice to talk to. And that was the, like, for all of the characters that we ended up following, it was really just people that we that, you know, you could root for, but also as the year unfolded, different people would emerge, you know, the nurses, for example, or VNA. We ended up following her after, you know, just as the events of the year unfolded, but in each case, the people who, you know, we ended up following were just people that we wanted to talk to on the phone for long periods of time and keep pestering you.
We did talk to so many amazing students, all of whom we really enjoyed talking with. But you had a unique challenge that you were up against in a way that all of everyone this year has had some sort of challenge, but your life had all of these sort of elements, including oil, with your family and your father losing his job. You had a lot of storylines that intersected in your life. So, but we talked to so many, amazing students. So we want to be clear that we have a saying about like the cutting room floor and losing your babies. It really feels like that.
Yeah,
so many great people.
Makes sense. So Joanna, it sounds like your life is book material. So there you go. There's your opportunity. It's writing the book of Joanna, your autobiography someday. Joanna, you had a second question?
On the 4th episode, we really touched on like mental illness, and like throughout like all of the episodes, you can tell like most of us had like a lot of stress, and I was just wondering how like y'all manage stress with like all of these podcasts and like journalism and just.
Interesting.
That's hard.
That's a great question. Yeah. I mean, it can be challenging. Definitely the job can be stressful, but it's like most jobs. Some days you have good days, but I think the thing I love about this job is the highs are really high. You get to tell incredible stories, and I feel very lucky that I love my job. So, I will be honest that yes, it can be stressful, but at the end of the day, I think, having the honor to tell stories like you guys is the reason that I do this job, and it is the reason that the stress is worth it.
Yeah, I think the other thing is just like we would get to moments in the production of the show where someone would be feeling really bad, they'd be really tired, they'd not know how to fix some problem, and just saying it out loud what is hugely helpful, because then you realize that someone else is also feeling that way, and you're able to solve the problem together, or say like, okay, we need to slow down, take a step back, do something differently. And I think that that's a thing that we've learned in working together, is just sort of naming the problem when it comes up. And that was so powerful about talking with you and your openness, both you and VNA and Naomi and Jimmy. It just was I think the bravery of saying what's happening honestly is also a certain kind of wisdom, because you just I think it's easier to deal with if you can name it honestly.
Yeah, that's powerful. Good question, good answers. VNA, what about you? You got a question?
Yeah. Why did y'all pick me over the other person that also tested positive in their bus? Is that a question?
VNA, I think Annie and I first talked with you, and we actually didn't even know that you were positive. We were calling you because we thought we understood a totally different story. So when we first talked with your mom and then you revealed that to us. I don't know. Did you hear our surprise when you told us that, or
no,
did you know? We didn't know.
We didn't know.
Oh, I thought I did know, because I remember Annie sending me a message on Facebook.
Yes, I had heard that I knew that there was some drama going on, but I didn't know the nature of it. And so, we didn't actually connect with that person, but you were also such a strong storyteller, and you were so open, and we felt so much for you and talking to you that it was a no-brainer.
And you're the drum major.
And you're the drum major.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the reason. Drum major. Drama at a high school. I can't imagine.
I know.
It does actually speak to like the amazing nature of these kinds of stories that are unfolding before your eyes, with just telling it in the aftermath of it. Because, there were many times we could have talked with you, VNA, and there were times when, we were talking with Jimmy about the delay in sound, and we could have reached out to you then. There were just so many opportunities, and we're so grateful that you did. I mean, I know we've said this a million times, but that you opened up about that with us and shared that with us without us even knowing, because what an amazing story, impactful story you have. And it 100% affected people. I mean, I would venture to say that it affected your classmates and the people who maybe felt hurt or we're hoping that created some clarification for people. And so anyway, yeah.
No, good stuff. I think, and Liz, you talk about clarification for people. I think one thing that I've heard from my colleagues across the country that have listened to the podcast is really the help that it provided others, the insight to others that it provided into the work that schools are doing, into how different places are dealing with these situations. So, certainly all of the storylines have helped others across the country in a variety of ways. Ladies, you mentioned earlier that you're hearing things or have heard things. So I'm curious, what is the national reaction to this story? We know what the Odessa reaction has been from our family and friends, but we have no idea what the national reaction is. You've heard that. What would you share?
We've heard from so many individual people reaching out about connecting with Joanna, connecting with VNA, being a member of a band, growing up, connecting with the marching band, being a teacher and hearing the struggle in Naomi, like just so many people feeling themselves in the story, which is really all we can ask for in doing this. We've also heard, as high up as the Education Secretary of the United States spoke about the project and, called it a true piece of journalism and felt very moved by it. So we've been really, really happy with how it's connected with people, and that just I think speaks to the sort of universal truth that we were able to share because of what you shared with us.
So VNA and Joanna, when you asked that question, why me? I think Annie just captured that. The story, your stories, and the story of Naomi and Jimmy and all that is happening there at Odessa High School has impacted our nation in some pretty powerful ways. And it is the storytellers, the four of you from the New York Times, that artistically, crafted this together to make sure that the honest stories of Jimmy and Naomi and Marissa and Joanna and BNA are captured accurately and are portrayed in an honest fashion that move people to make some pretty powerful choices for themselves. My last question, really, for any of you is, did this podcast, as you listened to it, or maybe the experience itself, did it have an impact on you in any way?
It did me. It really made me appreciate my job. A lot of times there were certain things that I would complain about, but when it was taken away, it's like that old saying, you never know what you got till it's gone. And when I couldn't do the things that I was used to doing and how I was doing it, it was, man, I like my wife would say, I really had to dig deep inside myself to figure things out and come up with solutions. And just listening to it and hearing the stories, it really opened my eyes, and I was very excited and very proud to be part of this project. I received so many emails from different people around the country, and even former classmates of mine, and even my former high school band director reached out to me. He lives in Oregon, and he says, I heard the first one, I can't wait till the second one, and then he shared it with our Facebook page, alumni Facebook page in Big Spring, and so it was incredible. In fact, if you can hold on for a minute.
Uh-oh. The reveal.
I actually had a gentleman reach out to me. I'm assuming it's a gentleman who works in Haiti, does Haiti art. He's from Salinas, California, and sent me an email saying how much he enjoyed it, and then wanted my address. And I was a little scared to give him my address. I'm like, man, what? So after talking to my wife, I did, and then within a couple weeks, I received this from him.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That's amazing.
That's cool.
Amazing.
So it was really cool. And then I got on his website to see, what other projects and stuff he does. And yeah, it's incredible. That's made off the lid of a 55-gallon drum. And
Isn't that interesting?
the fact that he goes to Haiti and gives those people work to do and so forth. So it's just crazy. But I'm sure you ladies have stories like that of people that have reached out and just really thanked us for doing what we're doing. And I felt like I didn't do enough. But anyways, thank you for the opportunity.
That's powerful. Anybody else have a special impact on you in any way or this project?
Yeah, a lot of people reached out to me as well. I've been receiving a lot of emails from people from other places willing to help me, financially, or just giving me a little pep talk. And today, actually, I went up to the school to get my cap and gown, and when I checked my emails, I got an email saying that I have a letter waiting for me. And so I was kind of scared about what it was, because I don't know if that was about graduation. And when I went to go pick it up, it said New York. And I thought it was so cool. And it was this girl, she sent me like 3 pages of her telling me her story. And so it felt really, cool that I did that. Like, I inspired other people to share their story.
Yep. That's impressive. Wow. Anybody else want to share?
I can share, although those are very hard to talk, and your stories are the ones that matter. But you are inspiring me to now open up and share my story. I moved from New Jersey to California during this project with my family, and it's just been a very rough year. And you guys have absolutely been the highlight of my year, 100%. Scott, Mike, people who aren't even on the screen, the students we talked with, that you guys connected us with, VNA, you connected us with so many people just through your story that we talked with, who talked with us on background, and just this podcast ultimately ended up landing in a place of how important connection is. And even though we've never met each other or been in each other's place, this is one time where remote connection for me really, really mattered. And I just want to say thank you. This has been such an amazing journey for us, journalistic journey, but also it's very close to our hearts. So thank you.
Yeah, wow. Great, Liz. Thank you. Anybody else want to share?
I was going to say, I on a similar personal level, some of the things that we learned from talking with the mental health counselors and with both of the students on this call, about the tendency to retreat into yourself, and to learn to sort of crave isolation after being isolated for so long, really hit me as well, as like I had recognized that I was doing something similar, that I was not responding to friends' emails or text messages, and just kind of feeling comfortable in my own world. And it inspired me to reach back out to friends, and I felt better. And so I really think that there's some deep universal truths that we were able to touch on, and that was one that for me really taught me something about myself while getting to know you all.
Yeah, powerful. Well, it was an incredible journey, I think, for all of us in our own unique ways, individually and collectively. It was a really powerful journey. And I think tonight's conversation really helps paint that picture for others that we do this work together is a phrase that we say a lot in ECISD. And I think tonight, clearly, we did this project together, each person playing their own role, but together it became quite a powerful opportunity for those that listened. But this isn't all. And I believe the New York Times has a special opportunity coming up for everyone. And Annie, do you want to share that with us tonight?
Sure. So on June 10th, we're going to have a virtual event, a live event, celebrating the end of the school year and also this project. We're going to have a conversation similar to this one with a couple of the people who are here now, and then hopefully we'll have a performance from some members of the marching band and a couple of other exciting surprises. That's on June 10th, and Dr. Mary has the information.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be sharing that broadly and widely. So again, coming up on June 10th, everybody will learn more about that. And this is video, so this is live on June 10th. Everybody will get to see this, kind of celebrating graduation, celebrating not only the podcast, but really just the journey of our students and staff members across the nation this year. Right. And Odessa High School will be, that kind of focal point. But it really is an honor of all of our children and staff members across the country. So as we close out tonight, I just want to say thank you to everybody. This has been an incredible journey. We appreciate the students and staff of Odessa High School, again, opening up your lives to these journalists and really sharing your honest truth with the country and allowing people to learn and grow and really become better because of your honesty and your story. So thank you for being a part of this. And then to the New York Times staff, it was an honor to work with the four of you. Me personally, getting to know you was a really special treat. It was fun to see all of you tonight. And I hope, well, obviously this won't be the last time because we'll see each other again on the 10th, but I hope that the future holds opportunities for all of us to continue to tell the important stories that make people in the world in which we live a better place for everybody. So again, on behalf of ECISD and everyone tonight, I say thank you for joining us. Thank you, New York Times. Thank you, Odessa High School. And thank all of you that are watching tonight. Have a great evening and good night.